Today, we're diving into a question that's as old as time. How do you win when you're completely outmatched? The answer, you might be surprised to learn, isn't in some modern playbook. Nope, we're getting it from the original experts in the animal kingdom. Right, so how do the weak outsmart the strong? I mean, when brute force just isn't an option, what do you have left? What tools can you possibly use? Well, the answer comes from a pretty unexpected place. Turns out, this was all written down thousands of years ago in a collection of fables from India called the Panchtantra. And listen, these are not just simple bedtime stories for kids. They are absolute masterclasses in strategy, politics, and, well, survival. All right, let's kick things off with our first case study. This one starts with a predator who's kind of lost his edge. It's the story of a heron and his very deadly lie. So picture this. There's this old heron. He lives by a lake that's packed with fish, but he's gotten too old and weak to actually catch any of them. He's literally starving to death. His strength has failed him, so he's only got one move left. He has to switch from brawn to brain. So what's his plan? Oh, it's devious, but it's also kind of brilliant. It's a four-step process. First, he fakes this deep sadness and tells everyone an astrologer gave him a terrible prophecy. Step 2, he just so happens to be the only one with a solution, this secret perfect lake nearby. Third, he builds trust by offering to be their savior, to fly them there himself, one by one. And the final step? A brutal, cold-blooded betrayal. He doesn't fly them to a new lake, he flies them to a rock and eats them. And get this, 12 years. He tells them the drought is going to last for 12 years. That's the scale of this lie. He didn't just say, hey, water's a bit low. No, he invented a full-blown decade-plus catastrophe. Why? To create absolute blind panic, making everyone so desperate they'd believe anything. So the heron's plan is working like a charm, right? He's got an endless food supply. Well, it works perfectly until he makes one critical mistake. He picks up the wrong passenger, which brings us to the crab's clever countermove. So the crab is on the heron's back, flying through the air, probably thinking he's on his way to paradise. And then he sees it. Down on a rock below, a massive, gruesome pile of fish bones. Uh-oh. In that single instant, the whole picture clicks into place. He knows the scam, and he knows he's next. But does he freak out? Does he start struggling? Nope, not at all. He stays incredibly calm, and he plays dumb. He says, Uncle, hey, how much further is this pond? You must be getting tired carrying me. He's not just making conversation. He's buying time, gathering intel, and making the heron feel totally in control. And right there, that's the heron's big mistake, his fatal flaw. It's pure arrogance. He thinks the crab is just another clueless victim, so he gets cocky and spills the beans. He confesses the entire plan. And in that single moment of hubris, he completely seals his own fate. The crab, of course, uses that opportunity to turn the tables and put a permanent end to the heron's deadly little game. You know, this story gets retold later by a wise jackal, who basically says, look at that, a huge, greedy predator taken down by a mere crab. It's the perfect example of intelligence toppling raw power. But hold on, because that same jackal is about to face a totally different kind of problem, a problem that needs a whole new level of cleverness. This is the jackal's cunning plan. Okay, now let's shift gears. Imagine you're these two crows, and you're dealing with something awful. There's a cobra living in your tree, and every single year, it eats your babies. You can't fight it directly. You're just not strong enough. You're completely powerless. So what do? You go find that wise jackal. And the jackal's plan? It is absolutely brilliant. He doesn't tell them to fight the snake head on. No way. He tells them to do something completely different. Find a rich person's house. Steal something shiny. A gold chain will do. Make sure you're seen taking it, and then fly back slowly and drop it right into the snake's nest. See what's happening here? The jackal isn't giving them a battle plan. He's teaching them how to get someone else, someone way more powerful, to fight their battle for them. That right there is the definition of brains over brawn. And it plays out just like clockwork. The female crow spots jewelry left by the royal women. She swoops down and snatches a gold chain. The king's guards see her and immediately give chase with sticks. She leads them right back to her tree and drops the chain into the cobra's hollow. The guards show up, see the furious snake coiled on top of their master's gold, and, well, you can guess what happens next. They take care of the snake to get the chain back. Problem solved. And the crows never even had to lay a talon on their enemy. Okay, let's pause for a second. We've got two stories, two victories of brain over brawn. But the way they worked was fundamentally different. So let's really dig into this deceiver's playbook. All right, just look at this breakdown. The heron, his motivation was pure, selfish greed, and his method to directly manipulate his victim's fear. It was a one-on-one con that failed the second his prey was smarter than he gave them credit for. But the crows, guided by the jackal, their motivation was survival. You could even say justice. And their method was totally indirect. They didn't manipulate their enemy. They manipulated the greed of a completely separate group to get the job done for them. And all of this really boils down to one of the central ideas in the Panchtantra, spoken by a character named Damanaka. What cannot be achieved by force can be achieved through deceit. It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? So when you boil it all down, the ultimate lesson from these incredible old stories is pretty clear. In a world defined by predators and prey, real power, the kind that lasts, doesn't always come from having the sharpest claws or the biggest teeth. It comes from strategic thinking. And that leaves us with something to think about. Cleverness is a weapon. The heron used it. The jackals used it. But one used it for selfish greed, and it completely backfired. The other used it for survival, and it worked beautifully. So that's the real question, isn't it? When is being clever a form of wisdom? And when is it just a trap you're setting for yourself?